Yeah,
Turtles.
turtles. I love turtles. Turtles,
Man,
turtles,
patience.
turtles. Ooh, I love turtles. Yeah, turtles,
I
turtles,
totally
turtles,
remembered
turtles.
there was a podcast today, so everything's gonna seem normal, and you won't hear kids screaming in the park that I'm at. I meant for this to be filmed at the park. That was my intention.
Oh.
Hello, hello, and welcome to the Nobody Asked podcast, sponsored by the helicopter flying over my head. Look at those
Yay, more
trees.
helicopters! Almost as much as turtles.
Yep,
Yay!
it's good. Today we are joined by two hosts who were both independently voted by Vogue magazine as the sexiest hosts of a podcast alive. It's
Oh.
Lumberjack Maria.
Hello! Apparently, I have a sexy podcast. No, I'm sexy and on a podcast.
Yes,
Whatever.
that's what it was. And also me. Hello. I'm in a
Bonjour!
park. There's, I mean, a lot of people around, but also people do so much weird shit here that I haven't noticed one person looking at me. So we're chilling. Everyone's out with their dogs. There's so much sun. Look at this gorgeous park. I'm walking by this big ass church. I don't really know what you guys are able to see, but
We can
it's
see
a good
we can see it
day.
all.
You can see it all. So welcome to the podcast. I totally didn't forget when we were going live and then get a text from my mom 10 minutes before, like, hey, I'm online. The podcast is happening. Oh, I'm gonna run to catch this left. Let's go. Contact.
What's happening? Why are we running?
Because the crosswalk was gonna end, and
Oh,
so
this is exciting.
so yeah. So, so welcome to the podcast. What are we talking about today, Mom?
We're kind of talking about a collection of laws that have been and are being passed with regards to gold and silver as legal tender. You're like,
Oh, I
wait,
love that topic.
what? What?
I love that topic.
Why do I care
Sorry,
about
it's very
this?
windy where I am.
I don't understand. Is this important? I don't know. I don't know. Let's see if we can figure it out.
Is it too windy where I am to be
Uh,
podcasting?
nah. We'll just roll with it.
No, we're chilling. Okay. That short run made me out of breath. So,
Should
I'm
I?
only like 6 minutes away from my apartment, so it's not that bad.
Okay.
But we wanted to go live on time so as to not alienate our thousands and thousands of loyal viewers. So,
Thousands and thousands.
yes, I mean, I'm including all the people that will eventually become fans of the podcast, but
Deep in the
you
future.
get it. Yeah.
And they'll say, hey, we predicted that this was going to be an issue long before. And look at here's this whole episode where they discuss it. Or we're completely wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? You know what I have noticed? I've been going through the back catalog of John Oliver shows, and I'm like, wow, he covers a lot of the same topics as us. It is a mixed bag, but we tend to hit the topics earlier than John Oliver. Sometimes he'll come like 2 weeks after us. Feels pretty good, man.
Well, that's interesting. I didn't know that. I should watch it more. I don't.
We've hit a ton of the same, like his main segment stuff. We've hit a lot of the same stuff. So, what's going on in your life, Mom?
You know what? Okay, so it was Mother's Day this past weekend. And
What?
yeah, and we were in Pascagoula because my mom wanted to go to a certain seafood restaurant. So we were in Pascagoula, and I've become quite obsessed with turtles lately, as various turtles wander through my yard. And I discovered that there is a turtle that is indigenous to the Pascagoula River exclusively. It only lives around the Pascagoula River. So I'm in
Ooh.
Pascagoula, it's Mother's Day. I get to kind of declare what I want to do. And your dad was down for, hey, can we just wander around the river and see if we can find this specific turtle? And so we did. We went all over, we weren't driving, but now I want to get a boat. I will say the end result was that I want a boat.
Oh boy.
But we went we just kept kind of driving up the river and stopping and going various places up the river. And at our very last stop, when I was getting so bit up by bugs that I was like, nope, I guess we don't see a turtle today. We're just going to bag it. I climb into the Jeep and look over, and like the turtle's just sitting right there. So I took a picture. Well, like your dad zoomed in with his phone because he's got a better phone than me. So he zoomed in, we got a good picture, and I discovered that it was not the turtle I was looking for, but apparently there are 2 turtles that exclusively live on the Pascagoula River, and I found the other one. So victory still.
Yeah. Do you know why they're exclusive to that river?
I don't know why. No, I don't. I mean, I will say, having gone up and down it, and then we kind of went into this like part of the river was in part of like a wildlife maintenance area, and there was like a little park pull off, and suddenly I was in a cypress forest, which is basically like a forest growing out of the river, and it was so calm and spooky. It was the coolest thing. I felt like, where is Yoda from? Is he, the swamps of Dagobah or something? I don't know. That's what it was like. I was on another planet, and it was like just 20 miles down the road. Another planet. It was the coolest. And now I'm hooked, man. There are like 35-ish turtles that are indigenous to Mississippi, and it is my goal to see every single one. So, pretty excited. I've got like 4 turtles down so far.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So you're like, I've been like kind of lurking on the outside of bird watching, and just like, I like to absorb all of the controversies within bird watching. And I wonder if you've kind of discovered an untrodden land with turtle finding, like maybe there won't be the same toxicity, but the same sort of wildlife fun.
I mean, so the website that I was initially using to find out about all of the turtles in Mississippi, definitely he seemed, this site seemed to know about turtles and stuff, and also the value of each turtle and which ones were illegal to possess. So clearly somebody's into turtles other than me.
Yeah. Man. I don't know, like people get really mad in bird watching with, like, you can play certain bird calls from your phone in order to attract birds to you to take photos of them.
Oh.
And that's considered like cheating. And there is some evidence that it can like disrupt their mating cycles and stuff.
Oh,
but
well, that's not nice.
Stuff is controversial. I'm putting off my camera so I can get inside of the building briefly.
Sure.
And then I'll transition to my computer. My week was good. I got we did a trivia night, and we did okay at it. And then, we've been talking about the step goal that Dad and I have been doing.
Yeah.
And I think everyone was pretty into it. Sorry, I'm trying to get this door to unlock.
Who's everybody being into a step goal? So like, that's like you're trying to reach so many steps per day. You're walking, you're moving your body.
Yeah, people thought it was cool. And
who's people?
So they wanted the people on my trivia team.
Oh, okay.
And so we decided that on Saturday this week, we would go and walk from the top of Manhattan to the bottom. It's like sort of a half marathon amount of distance. And so I'm interested because, I feel like with the amount of walking that I've been doing, it would have been impossible for me to do that without all the time that I've spent on it. But everyone else has not been doing a step goal, so we'll see how many people succeed.
Yeah, I think if you have a job, where you're sitting in front of a desk all day long, particularly when you work from home, it can get real easy to not walk very far in the course of the day.
Well, I mean, it is interesting to look at because I have data from college because iPhone tracks your steps anyway. And I didn't have a watch at the time that tracks heart and everything. But the step goals that we were setting the first couple of months were new records for me, except if you considered when I was at MIT because I walked across the bridge every day to get to school. So I got a ton of steps when I was in college.
Yep. College will do that to you. Everything's all spread out, and yeah, your methods of moving around can be limited. So, yeah.
All right, I'm entering my room right now, and I think that Ellie does not know I'm on the podcast. What says Ellie? So
we started.
We shall see. We have started the podcast. I'm now in my room. Everything is fine. Let's see if I can log on my computer, and then I can get off of my phone. Okay.
Still, I think my favorite part might be you running through a crosswalk, because suddenly, like the action, it was real. You were just running.
It was a big action moment.
Oh, we're gonna have to mute this one.
There we go. Nice.
Think we're good.
Uh-oh.
Ish.
I'm not connected to the right. MacBook Pro. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Sweet. Cool. Well, everything is totally fine.
Just sometimes we're flying by the seat of our pants, which I think is, listen, we talked about this last week too, and that everything in the world is just feeling overwhelming lately. And so if you get the chance to go for a walk because you forgot you had to do a podcast and you're just enjoying the beautiful green trees, I mean, what's wrong with that? It sounds lovely. Oh, fancy.
Look at my beautiful New York City apartment. We've got space for the grand piano and or couch with pillow. And is that an entertainment center? Of course I know because it's my apartment. But yes, that's my entertainment center. It's very ugly. So, Oh, I disappeared.
There we go. You're almost properly framed. You do have to sit at there's a magical distance with which to there's a sweet spot. And I don't know if you can find it.
Hey Donnell, hi Ashley, hi Barbie. Is that everyone? Yeah, it is. Sweet.
Indeed.
I'm here.
You're here. We've done it. We're here.
We've done it.
Do you have any ads today?
Yes. Today's episode is sponsored by Riverside Park. The studio space for your podcast can be pretty expensive. You need to find a place that has it usually, but not at Riverside Park. At Riverside Park, we offer you the suitable cellular connection to get on your podcast with a beautiful tree background. Only occasionally are there like 3 cops standing in the middle of the sidewalk, kind of arguing with each other that you have to walk through. But for the most part, it's good for a podcast. So come to Riverside Park.
Yeah, it did seem like it was pretty nice for a podcast.
Yeah. It's good.
Should we talk about this weird topic?
I would love to. Let's do it.
Okay. So, wait, what's that? Oh, it's a vehicle.
That's somebody speeding down the road.
Okay, so I think what got my attention, because apparently these rules have been going on for a while, these bills have been popping up for a while, and I don't know if anybody was paying attention to it, but recently in Missouri, it's called SB 100, which is a Senate Bill 100, and it did pass through the Senate, and is then sent over to the House, and the House has been kind of talking about it, and it's been kind of weird, but. The idea of this legislation is that it's going to treat gold and silver as legal tender instead of as a commodity. Okay. In the United States right now, we have what's called fiat currency, meaning that it isn't backed by anything. We used to have money that was backed by, matched in the Federal Reserve with gold. that is just no longer the case. It really hasn't been the case since the 60s. We just moved away from that because it can be quite limiting if you're trying to, I don't know, pretty much do anything really. So it's not just us. Most countries around the world also have fiat currency. It is just imaginary, really. It's really kind of more related to your economy and how each other's economies relate to each other. It's not backed by any minerals. I want to say gold, silver, tungsten. It's not backed by that anymore. But various states have put forth and passed legislation with regard to making gold and silver legal tender, meaning that you go to the store and you can hand them gold and they are to take the gold as if it were money. And of course, people are going to be like, well, how would they know how to value that in the McDonald's drive-through? That sounds confusing. How in the world are we going to do this? Where did this gold come from? What if this is Nazi gold and it has, can we just exchange Nazi gold? How do they,
why are we worried about Nazi gold?
I don't know, but that was one of the questions that weirdly did come up, during the discussions in the Senate and House. That was one of the questions somebody had, because it's like,
was it a Democrat?
It may have been, but it may have just been somebody looking for clarity on like, what's the deal? Like you're saying you can use gold to pay your taxes. How? And yeah, can I accept anybody's money, or do we have to have our own, mint that is declaring this money to have some specific value? Are we just working on whatever the fluctuations of the commodity are? Because that is how you do it now. So that's the first part of what Missouri is posing. They're also talking about eliminating capital gains tax on gold and silver. So any money that you would have made because you bought low and now you're selling high, you're to pay taxes. In many places, you were supposed to pay taxes on that, and we're getting rid of that. Let's see. Oh, it also prohibits requiring payment in digital currency. I don't understand why that's in there. You can't require somebody to pay you in Bitcoin. I don't know why we would need to legislate that. Maybe they've got some future plans that I don't understand, but that's in there. Requiring states, this is interesting, requiring states to keep in their state treasury, in their state funds, no less than 1% of the funds to be in gold and silver. So basically they want to start building up a gold and silver reserve for the state of Missouri. I'm going to tell you that Ohio already does that. So they've already started. So
do you know when Ohio started doing that?
I don't know that. I don't know. I do know some state stuff. I do know that one. I slipped through my fingers today. But it's just interesting. The idea, how do they say it? This is kind of the language around it. Some people would call it a sound money bill, right? There's been national backlash to inflation caused by massive federal spending, debt, and money printing. And so because of that, we need money that has got real value, because it seems as though they're planning for this all to fall apart. Now, I don't know if they're just worried that it's going to fall apart or if they're trying to make it fall apart, which is a question one could ask when dealing with the debt ceiling issue. Like, do these things go hand in hand? The fact that this legislation is out there and conveniently they don't want to raise the debt ceiling, as if they are trying to undermine our federal money. It's a curiosity. It's a curiosity. Let's see. What else? Okay, so I did want to also say there's 42 states that, another part was like removing sales tax from, the purchase and sale of gold. So when you go to the pawn shop and try to buy gold, no sales tax on it. That is true of 42 states. So that's kind of running along the idea of, why would I tax the exchange of money? That would be like going to a grocery store and saying, hey, handing them a $5 bill and saying, can I get 4 ones, and them charging you 35 cents for it. That's the rhetoric around this. It's like, this is money. So why in the world would I be taxed just for turning this money into a different format? It's interesting.
Yep.
It's interesting, because is it a commodity or is it actual money. So a lot of that's the thing, is we are moving to making it actual money. As it currently stands,
Is there sales tax on? This is a stupid question. Is there sales tax when you purchase a house?
I don't know. And I purchased so many houses and never bothered to even think about that.
Oh, I've purchased so many houses. I'm not
I
from
mean-
your generation. Yeah, I get it.
It's property. So I mean, I know there's definitely property taxes that you pay every single year.
I know, yes, that's probably what it.
So you get taxed a different way.
Estate.
Or capital gains. There's capital gains if you don't roll it into another property within a certain amount of time.
It seems like no, there's not.
Yeah, it's just different because it's just viewed differently.
Because is it viewed as like an investment or something? So
yeah, it's viewed as, it is an investment. It is property. If you don't roll it into another property, you will pay capital gains on it. And if you are using it as a rental property, that would change how you're taxed as well. But those are different things. What am I going to say? Oh, so apparently now I lived in Utah during this time period and didn't even know this, but Utah since 2011 has already created money. They have already changed. They've already decided since 2011 that gold and silver are legal tender, not just a commodity. And you can exchange it. In 2020, between 25 and 50% of private businesses were accepting actual gold and silver, which blows my mind, as legal tender. Another, and I'll show you some of that in a minute. I will show you some. Another important point is the way that our Constitution is written. States are allowed to create legal, what's the word? I can't think of the word. They're allowed to create legal tender in the form of coins, but they aren't allowed to make paper money because that's only the Federal Reserve can do that. And that is, that's because our paper money has no gold in it, right? And it's not backed by gold. It is its own separate thing that we just trust has some value. And they will not allow states to do that. And so what I'm telling you is they've gotten around it in this very interesting way, starting in Utah, but I mean, Nevada, Wyoming, there's various states that have this. And I'm just going to show it to you real quick. Let me switch slides. Boop. Oh, shit. Wrong button. Check that out. This is
a goldback.
It's called a goldback. And now what's fascinating about a goldback is, I don't know if you can see in the bottom, it says 1/1000th of troy ounce 24 karat gold. This is a piece of money that is literally infused with gold. It's between two layers of a polymer, a plastic polymer, and basically vacuumed in there. It has gold in it. And if you get a $5 one, it's got the equivalent amount of gold to that. So there's 1, 5, 10, 50. I don't know if there's a 20 in there, but there's various denominations.
It's 50 thousandths of an ounce. It's not $50, right?
Oh, you know what? I don't know why I assumed that this was a way of translating it into dollars, but that's a great question.
Well, because on the bottom it says 1/1000th
of a troy ounce.
Of troy. I don't know what a troy ounce is, but
a measurement of gold.
Yeah,
of weight of gold.
Huh.
Yeah. Oh, that's a curiosity. Yeah, it could be that's the difference is that ratio. No, that's great. But yeah, that's how they're.
Is the art on here?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Let me show you the next one too.
Okay.
Let's see. Oh. So look, let's see. This is Nevada. So you can see the various bills. Yeah, these are all Nevadas. Also, there's a $25 one. So that's kind of cool. So that says 1/40th of a troy ounce for a 25, 1/20th of a troy ounce for the 50.
Oh, you can buy one goldback is between $366 and $373 right now.
Okay. So yeah, it's more of a unit of measure than an actual dollar amount then.
I mean, I might buy this. This feels like something that if I put in a chest and died in 70 or 80 years, and there's a chest of goldbacks, I feel like these would end up being worth something.
So Patricia is asking, would it fluctuate in value? And it looks like it would fluctuate in value. And so that's the other part of it. In some of these legislation, it includes basically creating a system where somebody is valuating gold, on the daily and reporting it and putting it out so that everybody knows what it's going to trade at. If you did want to somehow use these cool gold, I mean, they're cool, man. They're cool. I can't deny that they're cool.
They are pretty fucking cool.
And they're infused with gold, and it's not like a fabric. It is probably a harder, because it is between some layers of plastic that are sort of like vacuumed together, and the gold is all in there. And I would imagine that, I bet they feel different. I bet that 50 feels heavier than that 1 does. But I mean, yeah, man, they're cool. But I just have a lot of questions about what is going on here. What did they say? Here's what they said in Wyoming, because they've had some rules about this since 2018, and then they've added some more since then, since in 2023. And it says, given the financial risk facing the U.S., Wyoming should take these modest steps towards creating alternative ways of transacting and saving using sound money. So basically they're saying that the federal money is not sound. We can't rely on it. It doesn't mean anything. I mean, I've heard people talk about, with regard to the debt ceiling, well, all that we need to do, the United States needs to do, is just print a $1 trillion bill and we're good. I mean, and it's like, well, I don't know what that means or why that would make sense. But
it would immediately decrease the value of all dollars, and it would decrease confidence in our economy, leading to all of these various countries not being willing to offer debt to us. So,
not a good solution in your mind?
Not a good. It's definitely not a good solution. Not a good solution in anyone's mind.
Yeah.
And anyone that knows what they're talking about.
Let me see. I just wanted to read. This is from like a blog. Clearly, it's a blog from a guy that is pretty anti-federal bank, centralized banking, and thinks that all of these things are good ideas. And here's a quote that said, "Over time, as residents of the state use both Federal Reserve notes and silver and gold coins, the fact that the coins hold their value more than Federal Reserve notes do will lead to a reverse Gresham's law effect, where good money, gold and silver coins, will drive out bad money, Federal Reserve notes. As this happens, a cascade of events can begin to occur, including the flow of real wealth toward the state's treasury, an influx of banking business from outside of the state, as people in other states carry out their desire to bank with sound money, and an eventual outcry against the use of Federal Reserve notes for any transaction." In this case, a Federal Reserve note, they're talking about paper money, traditional, your dollar bills.
You know what this reminds me of? The manifestos of crypto heads, like people that just love cryptocurrency. This is exactly what they say right here. And it feels like it's based on like a mathematical understanding of the value of currency rather than like a theoretical understanding of it. So I don't know.
So I can't speak for Barbie because she's in Canada, Patricia, but if you're asking about capital gains in selling this, so right now in a lot of places there would be capital gains, and that's what a lot of this legislation is also getting rid of, that there would be no capital gains with regards to gold and silver. There would be no tax on gold or silver. And here's another interesting thing. They would not be able to seize that money. So if if you are involved in some sort of a seizure of your property and money for whatever reason, gold and silver is off limits. It's a curiosity to me. Why is gold and silver off limits?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. It's interesting. And I mean, for me, I can't help but think this is a great way to hide, for the wealthy to hide money. I don't really think gold and silver is accessible to everybody at all. I mean, you don't get your paycheck paid that way. And if you did, how easy would it be for you to do anything with it? It would be weird. It would be challenging. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, you do not have time to invest in gold, generally speaking. It does, for me, it feels like it's just going to increase the divide between the rich and the poor. And if you are worried about any sort of economic collapse of our country, and you believe that gold will still be useful and the standard, this is a great way to insulate yourself.
Yeah, I feel
in my
like
opinion.
that second thing is the important thing. No? Like, and you believe that gold is going to be an acceptable standard. And this is where a lot of people's arguments about like, money isn't real kind of break down for me, because then they go, gold is real. And you're like, it's real because we like shiny things, right? Like gold
Yes.
is not really instrumental in a whole lot of
No.
processes and things we do.
No,
It's
certain types of electronics.
useless metal in a lot of ways, right? I mean,
Yeah.
right now, cobalt would make more sense as something that would increase as a commodity that would increase in value in a collapse, right?
Yep.
The reason people are like, oh, money now only like is worth things because we all agree it's worth something. It's like, yeah, before the system we had before with gold, that was only worth something because we all agreed it was worth something. The difference is that the way we convinced people to believe that something was worth something is that there was a finite amount of it, right? So,
Right.
no one can make it, right? You can't
Mhm.
counterfeit it, so it's worth something because it's a portion of the total global amount of that thing, right? And now, all of our money is related to an obligation of the largest economy in the world, and so
Exactly.
and there's a finite amount of that economy, and the economy wants
In
to sustain
theory.
itself. And so as long as we all agree that in general an economy wants to maintain its power and that the actors around it are reasonably intelligent, which I do think is something that, it makes it more vulnerable to certain types of collapses that are not calamitous. And that certainly people wonder if economists are smart sometimes. But
It's a wonder.
it's a wonder. But it's just that's what's always confused me about the people that are like, oh, we all just decide things are worth things, and it's like, yes, there's really only a certain set of things that are truly worth things when you get down to it, right?
Yeah.
And it's like the things you need. So
Well, okay, so let me tap into that idea, right? So if I look at things that everybody needs, generally speaking, we're talking about food, water, shelter, right? Those are like top billing.
Yep.
I can't help but notice over the last few years that not only have the prices of homes gone through the roof, but that a lot of homes were being bought up by these large corporations, right? These big LLCs were just buying homes hand over fist, not looking at them, and then doing question mark with them. What were they doing with them? Are they trying to control a commodity that we've never thought of as a commodity? Are homes commodities? Are these things that we can control
you
people
never
with?
thought of them as a commodity?
I mean, it's not like I'm buying 2 units of home and tomorrow I'm going to sell those 2 units of homes. No, I mean, it's different.
That's what REITs were. That this is a whole thing. Is like, before the 2008 collapse, everyone's like, oh yeah, one thing that doesn't collapse is the housing market, and the best place as a small time investor to invest in is the housing market. Houses always go up, so buy a house, right? This was investment advice for the last 70 years, and it's the dumbest fucking thing ever. If we're going, I'll go conspiracy theories here. If we're going there, right? I think that we know that a lot of shit collapses if the housing market collapses. And I think that the major investors definitely want to prevent things from collapsing during their tenure. And so they need to decrease the supply in two ways. And so they buy up a lot of the supply and sit on it. And there have been a number of different tax loopholes that have made this more and more doable for large companies. And they promote stupid fucking housing policy in different states and cities. And they are so good at it. Whoever wrote this playbook is a fucking genius, because you and I saw it in Hooper, right? With people showing up in this. I mean, Utah was expanding rapidly, which it shouldn't be, but that's a different conversation. But Utah expanding rapidly, and you're in this area that has a lot of land for development, And in those city council meetings, the conversation is, oh, if you bring in more housing, you're going to bring in city types and you're going to bring in drugs, and everyone's, saying certain things without saying certain things and being a little, and that's the conversation there. Oh, keep this rural community rural. So they're very good there. Is that increasing populations only bring negative stuff? That works on the Republicans, right? And then what do we do over here in New York City? I'm voting in a primary in 3 weeks. I don't have a candidate I want to vote for because all of them support these stupid fucking policies because the banks are in their goddamn pockets. Okay, there's the conspiracy. And here's what they do. They have their region of New York City already a highly populated, but it needs more housing stock, which is why the rents are going up so dramatically. And there are all of these developers that want to step in area and create low-income housing. And what do they say? They say this development is going to push out real Harlemites, right? They're gonna push out the real people from the Bronx, right? These developers just want to take away your grandma's home. Your grandma, by the way, has a 3-story home in Harlem, and her husband was a mailman. He stayed at home, right? Like, because there weren't people here in the early 1900s. I mean, there were more people than are in Hooper right now, but there was not nearly as many as there are now. They want to push those people out and then add all of this housing that's only going to bring in people from Ohio. And so what we need to do is we need to keep Harlem for Harlemites, right? And somehow this is both a Democrat and a Republican thing. You have leftists being like, oh, gentrification is ruining Harlem. And then you have Republicans in rural areas being like, the urbanization of rural America is going to turn everywhere to Chicago. Never mind the fact that the cities in their red states are way fucking worse than Chicago. And it works on both teams. Both teams are anti-development. They're anti-increasing of the housing stock, which allows the housing market to continue appreciating when it makes no fucking sense because no one's able to buy homes anymore. And their dream is that all the homes are owned by the big banks and whatnot. And so they can all agree on what the value of them are and then keep people out of them and continue raising rents, which will continue to increase their bottom line. And they do it through very effectively buying our fucking local politicians left and right. There's the conspiracy. Vote for Colin. I'm on your block. You can't tell me no.
You look crazy right now. Because it's cutting off all of your hair, so it's just your face.
I know.
That's funny. You put your hair up. Maybe. Oh, that's probably the key. Is that you put your hair up? That's the. I didn't know you had put your hair in a ponytail.
Hair up, but 1 second. I'll be back.
Okay. Let's see. What were we talking about? Gentrification and stuff like that. Oh, I know what I wanted to say. I think I had saw this thing about Detroit, and back in the day, because you had those big, you had various motor companies out of Detroit. There were mansions all over the place. It was a booming place to be. But eventually, the working class people move in, and there was a developer that was buying up properties, in specific areas, and then purposely letting them, not putting people in them, right? Just buying houses as they came up. He would buy entire neighborhoods and then would move nobody into them. There was no desire to rent. He just wanted the neighborhood to collapse and fall apart so that he could then blame it on the few people that were left, right? The few people that were left in that neighborhood who were going to probably be, Black families that have not left because they weren't able to, for whatever reason, that did actually probably care about their properties. But since all of these ones that are abandoned and catching on fire and, nonsense is happening in them is ruining their neighborhood because there's no people in the houses. And that was the whole goal, was to create this narrative that look at how Black people will ruin a neighborhood, when it was a ruse. It was a method.
Yep.
And so I have also heard said that there are enough houses in America that are empty to house like the homeless several times over. We do not have a housing shortage. A housing crisis and a housing shortage are not the same things. There are plenty of empty homes for reasons unknown. Why do investors buy up property and then not put people in them? Interesting. I mean,
Is this not the question that we've been asking for the longest time? Yeah, there's a ton of housing stock, and then it's like sometimes it feels like they know how stupid we are, but also it's like, what are you supposed to do? Well, if you know, and this is the whole like get woke thing, man, dude, phrases fucking suck. Okay, I think that we should all stop saying phrases. Okay, like
what should we stop saying?
Because words start meaning new things, and it's like, and so you can't say wake up. But seriously, if you wake up to this housing stock thing, and then you see some of the other things that are being said by the uber rich, and you're like, okay, something the fuck is going on here, because you're looking around and you're like, oh, people are mad at work from home, not just because it might decrease the amount of productivity, which it seems increasingly like that is not the case, but there's debate. People are mad at work from home because businesses no longer want to pay for office space. And so all of these companies have built up office space, which used to be a cash cow for them, and they're hemorrhaging funds, and these office spaces are empty. And it's like, yo, you got buildings, bro? I will buy a place in your building. Let's talk about it. Okay, I'll pay rent on your floor. I'll make money, right? That'll be your mode for this. But these two things are happening, right? There's no way for anyone to buy a house, and there's not enough people in office buildings. And why won't we make that change? Because a lot of the voting public, old people, own fucking homes.
They sure do.
Everyone, I mean, so many people that vote own homes, and they have no interest in my generation or the generation above me owning homes, because for us to own homes, the value has to come down. And if the value comes down, that's their fucking retirement. Okay. They've refinanced their homes, and suddenly they're going to be way underwater because this is their value, right? Their net worth is 50% their homes. If that drops by 50%, you've lost 25% of the value you've created over your entire lifetime, which is why it was always fucking stupid for us to call homes investment assets. It was always dumb. It should have been a way of taking away, of attempting to take away some sort of, the burden of rent. That could have been how we pitched people buying homes. But these becoming investment assets have caused us to vote against our own desires, and we are in our own way in terms of the next generation being able to produce economically for themselves, and it's creating a system of despair. And when despair goes up, some other things go up.
For real. Fear.
Is that going
mental
up? Have you guys noticed mental health problems and terrorism increasing?
Yeah, for reals.
I have.
For sure. While there's plenty of empty homes that are not accessible to anybody. But also gold. Is that accessible to you? Probably not. I mean, for some people it is. But it's just a curiosity that there's so many states that this is happening in, that the reason they're doing it is because they don't trust the federal government, right? Small government, everything's about small government. I don't know what your small government's doing for you. From where I'm at, small government's being a real dick. But man, it's just all weird. And we can.
Also mentions people buying up so much property and turning them into an Airbnb. That shit is going to collapse. Okay,
it's going to collapse. I think we're in the middle of it.
Short Airbnb all day. It's going to go bankrupt. They flew too close to the sun, and the people that used to love Airbnb, including me and my friends, everyone is like, the fees make no sense. Now they're taking the actual company is taking some good steps to slow things down. So they no longer show you a fake price up front. And then when you go through it, there's like fees that you pay before and fees after. All fees are up front, so you see the actual daily price. And that is much better for consumer confidence. I think some companies are starting to realize that long term, maintaining consumer confidence is important. And for Airbnb to work, you need repeat customers. But the only time that anyone I know does Airbnbs anymore over a hotel is when you're trying to squeeze a lot of people into one space. So like weddings, you'll have the whole bridal party in one house. Then it makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Airbnb economy is going to collapse. You can tell that there's some that there are some people that invested a lot into their own properties that are realizing that it was a gold rush, and now all the rivers are whatevered.
Running dry.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. I actually saw there's a famous YouTuber. I'm sorry, this is like a small aside, but it's for you, Mom.
Oh, that's fine.
There's a famous YouTuber that I follow who did like a fake interview recently where they were interviewing him about his process and stuff, but he clearly got an Airbnb and pretended it was his home, as part of the joke. And the Airbnb was Disney themed, and it was in Orlando. And I watched it I was watching it at like 1 a.m., so I didn't text you it, but I would love to show it to you and see if it's your friend's Airbnb, because it's got millions of views.
Oh.
And it's like, this guy's kind of a serious YouTuber, and they sit down on a bed, and it's like Star Wars is painted in the background. And he's like, yep, this is my room. It's pretty cool, And so
she does have a Star Wars room, but to my knowledge, it was a child's room. So that's probably
that's the joke. That's the joke.
Oh,
let's just see it. Let's just see it briefly. Let's just and
because I did make some decorations for one of the rooms. I made decorations for her Pirates of the Caribbean room. So, is there a Pirates of the Caribbean room?
Well, I mean, they didn't like. We'll see. All right. This is all right. I'm going to share my screen. Short aside, but I also feel like we're kind of off the cuff right now. So
Sure.
We're chilling.
It can be weird.
All right.
I do know that she's got two Disney houses now.
And this is just for us, right? This isn't going like on the internet or anything?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
So specifically, what is this show? Like, it's hard to define.
I don't think
You're
this
the
is hers.
interviewer.
You don't think so?
Your sister's not gonna
Because
join us, or
it is two
My sister?
beds with like Death Star.
oh, your wife. I'm so sorry.
And then
Because we look similar.
No. I would.
Does he do the
think
whole
we
thing
got
in this
same
room?
right, so that no. There's another scene in another room. So that's the Star Wars like head of the bed.
Man, I
whatever.
haven't looked at her stuff lately to see what she's made. Let's see.
Okay, here's
That
the
one,
room.
color-wise.
Cute.
Lots of Mickey Mouse.
Oh, those
Is that
stripes would
anything?
make me think of her. She did that in her dining room once. Oh,
Actually, there's not much left. So.
I like the
That's
child's
the same
table.
guy from the photos you're saying? Okay.
Here,
I
can
see it
and then
now.
we can just
So sometimes he drives a car.
Sorry. All right, let's see if there's other good. There's a fun little Disney pot. I just saw this and I was like, oh, it could be.
Yeah, I suspect that there are multiple Airbnbs around Disney that are, going to be Disney themed.
What if?
She even tiled, because it had a pool. She tiled Nemo and Dory in the pool. It was pretty cool. Like she hand laid tiles. Do, 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 do.
That your friends might be higher quality than the one that this was filmed in.
I don't know. That looked pretty good though.
Well, I don't want to say it looked half-assed to me in case it is your friends, but
well, I don't. The Star Wars room looked pretty cool. I don't know, all that stuff coming out of the wall.
talk to her and see, because that would be. I mean, I've watched Drew Gooden like since freshman year of college, so that they made a video on that. I'd be pretty funny.
I sent you a link earlier, hoping that you could pull it up because it was too much work for me to do it.
Yes.
But I just
SB 100.
Yeah, that is the bill in Missouri, and there's a reason that I want you to look at it, because it said some stuff that I thought was weird, and I'm like, am I a moron here? Am I reading this correctly? Oh, it's hard to read. So yeah, this is the current bill that has passed the Senate, and it hasn't been voted on, to my knowledge, in the House yet. But can we go down? Oh, go to digital mining. Let's see. Doot, doot, doot. It's like the next line.
Yep,
So
right.
digital mining. This act creates new provisions related to digital mining. Specifically, the act any person.
The act
This
permits
act
any person.
okay. To run a node or a series of nodes in the state for the purpose of home digital asset mining at the person's private residence. Okay. Correct me if I'm wrong, but digital mining, that is like mining for Bitcoin, right? Like that
Yep.
type of so digital currency. Okay, but now if you keep going, if you keep looking through this, because it got a little weird for me.
A person or entity may have a digital asset mining business in any area in this state that is zoned for industrial use. Furthermore, any
What?
person engaged in home digital asset mining or digital asset mining business shall not be considered a money transmitter.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm just a little bit thrown about why you need to have your digital mining in an industrial area, because I don't generally consider it to be industrial to do. You think it's because you need so many computers all linked together?
At this point, for it to make sense, you need unbelievably cheap electricity, and you need like a ton of servers, and you need electricity in order to pay for the air conditioning and to pay to run all of the servers.
Okay,
But-
well maybe that makes this next part make sense, because then it says a political subdivision will not limit the sound decibel generated from home digital asset mining other than limits set for sound pollution generally. So
Okay.
I would think regular mining could be quite noisy as you whack at a rock. It was hard for me to understand how doing digital mining could be so noisy that we have to.
Fans. Yeah,
Okay.
it is the sheer amount of air conditioning that it is so inefficient. It's crazy.
Okay, so I do find this interesting that this is in this gold bill. So we see that we are using, we want money that is backed with minerals, right? With tangible stuff in the form of gold and silver, but we're also working digital mining and digital currency into this bill as well, as making it a completely viable source of currency, but also it also says that it's not going to be required that anybody has to accept digital currency. I don't know. I just find that interesting that these two things are linked together when one is tangible and one is not tangible in the traditional sense. It's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So this all seems like it's born of an anxiety that the regulators of the Federal Reserve are too powerful and too able to increase the stock of Federal Reserve notes. And so in order to insulate from that, they're kind of, they're watering many pots in terms of in terms of legal tender that has a limit that a person can't control.
Okay. Should we look at this as a positive, that they are trying to find other ways to make, I guess, currency and, a form of exchanging of goods and services to happen, even if the Federal Reserve, if we do have some sort of economic collapse? Can we view this as a positive step that, if you live in these states, the shit's not going to 100% hit the fan?
Yeah.
Or,
I mean, it seems like your state, it could potentially be a money hole for your state in the case that there's not a collapse, right? I mean, I think that you could see this like state insurance, except that the insurance pays out in a situation where insurance would never pay out, which is an economic collapse, right? When your insurance dies, this is when this would pay out. But it's like it's a gamble against the republic. So you could see it as negative in one way, but there's always been this antagonistic relationship between the state government and the federal government. And this just seems like one more way that the state government says the federal government is it's running us into the ground. And we want to prepare for a reality where Missouri is the country of Missouri, So,
exactly. Missouri only cares about Missouri, and you guys better start getting your gold and look at these fancy new dollars that the old gold back. I mean, they are cool.
You know, it's a form of gambling, but gambling gets really weird when you're playing at the edges, right? Gambling stops feeling like gambling. I mean, insurance is gambling. Sometimes it's gambling that's required by the state, but because it's at the edges, you start to wonder, like, is the value of things at the edges as great as people think? So certain types of insurance are looking to prevent you from filing for bankruptcy, right? And the state has a vested interest in you not filing for bankruptcy, because the more people that file for bankruptcy, the less confidence there is in debt. The less debt there is, the worse the economy is. But as an individual, you need to be sold that bankruptcy is bad enough that it's worth losing money every month that you will never get back unless you're in the most dire of straits. So this is like health debt, debt on your car, etc. You're always losing when you're gambling, though. This is like state gambling here, but the state is convinced that at the extreme case, which is the federal government collapses, it's totally worth that gamble.
Right.
All right.
Particularly if you're doing things to help it along. That's where the worry is. Are they just doing this as an insurance policy just in case, or are they getting ready to set the house on fire to collect that insurance money?
There are vibes in a number of different spheres where it does feel like people are like preparing to commit insurance fraud at like a government level. There's this we're about to set the house on fire vibe. I can't believe I didn't think about suggesting this for a topic previously, but let's keep it in the brain.
Okay.
Ellie and I were recently invited by a friend. Friend, strong word, but we were invited to go to what was it, like a dinner, or I think she might be asleep. Ellie's asleep. The one where it was Peter Thiel funded, and they were going to create a new country of real innovative thinkers, the cult thing.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like a discussion session.
Okay.
Cult.
We were invited to the beginning of, not really a cult, but a cult, where they're trying to get people that are at the top of major companies, Ivy League PhD students, the boyfriends of Ivy League PhD students, into a room, and it's meant to be, this is how they phrase it, they're trying to create a new society. There's a number of different discussions about where it could be, but it's off the coast of these various different tax haven countries, where they're going to build a new city or town filled only with the best and brightest people within the economy to make a new type of society. It's sounding culty, isn't it? And it's funded by Peter Thiel. I don't know if you know who Peter Thiel is.
I don't.
He's one of the biggest Republican mega donors. He was also one of the founders of PayPal with Elon Musk.
Oh.
And he was one of Trump's biggest donors in 2016. But he is sort of like a techno giant that plays that same edge that Elon Musk plays, where he's not really a classic Republican, but he masquerades as scientific and logical, even when he's not. That he's like, well, we should, all ideas should be on the table. Like, let's discuss the merits of ethnic cleansing, and he's got sort of that vibe. Now, we'll give our friend the benefit of the doubt, right? I don't think that they knew it was a Peter Thiel thing, and even if they did, they might not know Peter Thiel's stuff. If you look at the website, I would think that the red flag of cult should raise up, but we know and have seen people that have sort of gotten brought in by these mega communities, because within academia, there is a strong anti-American sentiment. There's an anti the non-academia sentiment, like non-upper crust sentiment, because especially scientists feel like their science is being held back by ridiculous, often Republican initiatives, like stem cell research being held back, all sorts of innovative research, AI research is being held back by fear mongering and stupidity among the fucking Texans of this world. And so, and that vibe is out there for sure. And this is sort of playing off of it in a very interesting way. So I think that this would be an interesting website to do a little dive on and to talk about.
I love it.
Our sphere. There are things that people say where you're like, oh boy, you've never been outside of academia and you have drunk the Kool-Aid on how stupid people are. And I mean,
I can like at some point they have to realize that they need working class, and not only do they need working class, they need more working class than they need these Uber people, right? Not everybody can't be an Uber scientist, an Uber tech giant, an Uber whatever. Not everybody can be that. And you can't run without the working class people. And then, so now you've got more working class people that you bring into the scenario, right? Because you need them, because you're not going to do all that piddly paddly work that needs to get done to execute, whatever your brainchild is. And now there's more of them. And so
they need.
They're doing it with robots?
What?
They're doing everything with robots?
Automation and AI. I think that many people, myself included, think that there is a lot of labor which is unnecessary and which is being maintained by politicians, but it's a house of cards that's going to collapse because automation is way more efficient. And if we could just move away from the place that, that politics is getting in the way of automation, you could create an uber efficient type of society that doesn't need these, bottom feeding scum.
Ugh,
when I say myself included, I don't mean that. I mean that I think that a lot of work, blue collar and white collar, is going to be replaced. Now, everyone in this sphere, in the academic sphere, thinks that it's only the bad, like the fake white collar, that's being replaced. It's like, advertising and accounting and grant writing. Because, by the way, grant writing is going to be done so soon. I mean, but we're in this there's this thing that happens when automation catches up, where like you can be the company that takes advantage of the automation and you can make all this money, and then soon you'll be useless. So we're just going to ride this money wave here, and then get out at the top is what everyone will always say. So yeah, I don't think that they're convinced that it's necessary. And some of the places where they're like Sierra Leone and some of these governments that have kind of hitched on to this Peter Thiel fantasy, I think they're like, yeah, we can purchase labor there. So
purchase labor. It's a curiosity. I can't help but, if you did believe that there was going to need to be a working class, and if you were like me and believed that they would, by the numbers, outnumber the elite class, I can't help but think that you would automatically put checks into place to not allow that large working class group of people to have a vote, or enough of a vote to overpower these brilliant thinkers, or these people that think they're brilliant thinkers that have power and control. And we are back at square one.
It's all happening. Yep.
That's how the rise and fall of empires works, right?
Yes, but I think that a lot of people think that this is the first time where we've been able to actually replace the work that is necessary, and so we can finally firebomb them all. So gross.
Could you imagine if you thought about it in a more altruistic way, saying, hey man, nobody has to work as hard as they used to work, but we're still going to take care of everybody. These robots are helping all of us. to be able to focus on other things, to not have to worry about the trudge and the toil, to instead work about enlightening everybody, making sure everybody's fed, because you don't know where that next
Only
brilliant
you
mind
guys
is.
had voted for Andrew Yang, but no. Oh, la 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 la, says everyone to Andrew Yang, the only person that was talking about this the whole fucking time. Okay,
He was too soon. We weren't ready.
it was too soon. It wasn't fucking soon enough. Okay, you got it was too soon. What was it too soon 10 years ago to do something about climate change? Is too soon any time before too fucking late? Because that's what it feels like.
In capitalism, yeah, man.
Yes.
Too late
always.
only.
Always too fucking late. You guys all fucked up with Andrew Yang, and then politics ruined him, and now he low-key sucks, but he had good ideas in the beginning. He should have only talked about the good ideas and stopped talking about stuff that he doesn't know about. What are you gonna do? He was good on the other stuff. Oh boy. Yeah, no, it's all gonna come crashing down. It's also very unfortunate how many of these, upper crust influential people are fully convinced that of this line where there's just people that can't be brought along. Like, it's not possible. Now that there are people with mental illnesses, right? There are people that are like incapable of like math and reading, and we should bring them along. But yes, they might not be able to produce in the way that you want them to produce. But we were talking about this just recently. Like, the hypocrisy is that some of these areas that are filled only by people that are considered blue collar still require an incredible amount of intelligence to work, right? Mechanics
100%.
are fucking doctors for cars, right? And the shit, I mean, they need to adapt. The cars vary way more from car to car than human bodies do. Okay, Ellie just went, ooh, like livers look as different carburetors do. Give me a break, Ellie. That cars vary way more dramatically than human bodies do. Okay, all human bodies have, hearts and brains, right? But not all cars have carburetors. All right. Not all of them even have the same.
Not everybody has a uterus either, but
Yeah. There's two kinds of humans.
I mean, there's more than two, but there's two.
There's a ton of very strange, like different ones in the hermaphrodite section. But in terms of chromosomes, there tends to be two.
Intersex.
Good boy. Intersex. Thanks, Mom. The show Nobody Asked is always about language policing. That's what we tend to proselytize here. Is language policing. It's really good for advancing dialogue.
That is a fair statement. It is not. It does the opposite. But it's good to be considerate when you can say, oh shoot, I'm used to this word, and now it's not. It's an impolite word that hurts people's feelings. Let's move on to another one. It's a dehumanizing word. Moving along. But yeah, no, it can absolutely squash real discourse because it's a good way to miss the point. So I apologize.
Yeah, I apologize for using a different term. I don't give a fuck. So, anyway, mechanics. There's so much understanding of science that is necessary to be a good mechanic, but to enter the forces of being a mechanic, you need to have interest in cars, right? And it accepts people of all different sorts because it's necessary to. It doesn't have the same sort of like, oh, you haven't published a paper yet? Well, then you're a bitch. So that there's this incredible intelligentsia of people that work on cars that are convinced that their intelligence doesn't count, but it's the fucking same. Okay, it's just a different field and different stakes in some cases, right? I mean, if you destroy a car, the malpractice insurance payout is not the same as killing someone. But this is my point. You can become a mechanic, and the reason that people from all these different creeds are able to become a mechanic is because they're not taught that it's so much harder and so much bigger of a deal, right? Science, working in science, so many more people could work in science than think they could. I mean, a lot of it is kind of mechanic work. The coming up with ideas requires something. Got in my eye requires something, but I don't know. This line that like once a bunch of jobs are like turned out, there's going to be this like 50% of America that can't find jobs because they're not capable of intelligence or information labor. That same sort of thought existed when we switched to the Industrial Revolution, right? And that there were going to be all these farmers that were out of work and that they can only be farmers, right? They can't learn to use tools. Yes, they fucking can. You just need to improve your education system.
Right. Yeah. Alarm clocks. You know, there used to be people whose job it was to just roll you out of bed. Apparently, they're the only person in town with a watch. And they would come to your, you know, and either poke at your window, poke at your door with a stick, or poke at you and roll you out of bed with their stick. And it's like, oh no, there's alarm clocks. People can manage waking themselves up now. Whatever will we do? Yeah, I mean, jobs come and go all the time. There's some things that we hold on to too tightly. I agree. I think what's hard for me is the idea that if you automate everything, it feels like under our current system that the owner of the robot and the technology owns the resulting work, and it's his. So why in the world would he want to share it with a bunch of people that did not contribute to his making his robot happen? You know what I mean? Making his, and so that's the issue for me is I think we have such a hard time changing our mindset where automation is concerned into the idea that we could all own the resulting work.
Yep.
Instead of this big, brilliant scientist technology person who created.
But who's going to say
the
it?
Means.
I'll tell you who. It was Andrew Yang. And it was fucking years ago. And you didn't fucking vote for him. And then he ran for mayor here, and you all shat on him. And you said that he was anti-Asian, which was so weird.
I didn't. I just said, hey, this is a weird thing they're saying.
Okay?
I
just have so much beef with the people that dogged on Andrew Yang, like all of their politicians. We got Eric Adams. So fucking stupid. You want to play GeoGuessr? We haven't done it in forever.
Yeah, let's play GeoGuessr.
GeoGuessr. And then we'll call
Honestly,
it night.
I feel like this was kind of a fun podcast. I know we were a little bit all over the place, but I think that was the goal.
I mean,
honestly.
I was literally all over the place. I was in different locations.
That is true.
Really
are you this cute little blonde lady now?
No, that blonde lady's trying to sell me. Trying to sell me on I'm gonna turn off my camera so I can move my computer. Yeah, the blonde lady's trying to get me to buy premium GeoGuessr. I stopped playing as often as I did, so I no longer pay the like $1.50 a month or whatever.
Yep.
Okay, we get 5 minutes of free playtime, so
what?
we've got to really chew through it.
Man, what a bunch of jerks making us work this hard for 5 minutes.
I know.
I mean, that's just going to make you have to go faster. And sometimes they give us no information.
Yes, it's going to. So we get a minute per location, but it's all right.
Okay.
Time for the daily challenge. Minute per location. Let's go. Start game.
Do it.
All right. Okay. Gold.
Good.
Ned Sater. Okay, so it's feeling like maybe Denmark-ish,
Maybe. It's a good guess.
Fona. DVD Filmfra.
Okie dokie.
Alfier. Okay, I'll start moving. Sorry. Oh, wait, what is that? Are these flags something?
Oh, here's a bus.
Oh, yeah. Fadelfir for Denmark, bada bing. Okay, so it is Denmark. It looks like a city.
It does look like a city.
That's pretty good. A Coldstone.
And McDonald's.
McDonald. Himmerland. Oh, no. Things disappeared.
Okay. I know. Where'd that bus go?
I wanted to see the bus.
They said, no bus for you.
Denmark.
Oh, there's Burger King, too.
All right. Well, we're just going to say, like, Copenhagen or something.
Okay, dog. It looks pretty like a legit city. Boop.
Oh, no. I should have guessed it was Aalborg or something. All right. It's all good. Okay. Oh, I took too long on that one. All right.
Could be the same damn place for all I know.
Could be. I mean, to me, it looks more Italian, but Apothic. Oh, Gasse Siebenberg. Oh, I mean, it's very German. Schweighofer.
Manager software. Einbahn. It's definitely German.
Definitely German. But what German? I mean, there's so much Germany. Auschken. I mean, probably not. I mean, it's kind of new buildings. We want to say Munich, Berlin, Hamburg, Nuremberg, Frankfurt.
Big one.
Frankfurt. Vienna. Damn it.
Unbelievable.
Oh, this does not look like Germany.
No.
It is Asian. Korea.
Oh. As good a guess as any. Better than
think,
some.
I think that looks Korean. Doesn't Korean have a lot of circles, or is that Thailand?
Unknown. I have not
Might
the
be-
requisite
Might
knowledge.
be Thailand.
Did that house fall into the ditch?
That looks so Korean. God,
I think Korean is a good guess because this just looks like a hot mess. I'm not saying that any part of Korea is a hot mess, but it just doesn't look right.
oh, it's totally Changwon. Oh, it was Korea. Let's go. I was 25 miles away. It was
It's pretty
Busan.
close.
Nice.
Ooh,
All right.
some palm fronds.
I mean, oh, do we have a snorkel? No.
I literally have no information.
I was just going to meta game a little bit because there's a certain country where you see these bars that are down here.
Uh-huh.
There's a certain country where there's a snorkel coming from one of them, and that's always that one country.
Oh.
Baño, Cochina Modular.
Yeah, this is Spanish speaking.
Charles de Gaulle. I mean,
Wait, did you say Charles de Gaulle?
Yeah. Plaza
Oh, that's
Charles de
France.
Gaulle.
That's
Oh, it's
France.
France?
Yeah.
I mean, interesting. So let's go like
Look near Paris because Charles de Gaulle is the airport in Paris. But that said Neuf on it. Is there a place called Neuf?
I don't know, but I've just got to guess quickly because we got a minute.
Okay.
Oh my God. It was the Dominican Republic.
Puerto Rico. Oh, Dominican Republic. Why did that say Charles de Gaulle on it?
I have no idea. Oh, look at that. Now
That's
those
cool.
buildings feel Asian, but
We got kind of almost volcanic-y looking mountainsides.
yeah, but the
looking
mountains
lush.
are like, is this like Nepal or something?
No, I think that'd be even pointier mountains.
Pointier Mountain. Yeah, you're right. But the buildings, man, they're so similar. But it is quite gorgeous.
I don't know. It could be Denver for all I know. I don't know.
Denver. No, you're crazy. You are truly bonkers.
I mean, what is this footpath that we're on? I don't.
It's Asian. Okay. It is Asian.
Is this a street?
I think it is Taiwan. It was Hong Kong. Damn it. I didn't realize that close to Hong Kong could look like, yeah, I guess Hong Kong is larger than I thought it was. Interesting. I mean, I feel like that was pretty good.
Oh, we finished it.
15,588. Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Let's go. Wow. So glad we had some fun.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I would like to thank everybody for coming here. Thank you, Susie B, Ashley Nicole, Patricia with a C, Barbie. I thought there was one more person that was it. Oh, and Donnell. Thank you all for coming and keeping us company as we discussed, probably something you really weren't thinking that hard about. But I just feel like everything fits together. If you pay enough attention, all of these things we're just giving you little pieces here and there, little pieces to help you kind of construct your idea of America.
Yep. The elite.
Sure.
The elite.
So thank you for keeping us company. Shall we sing it out?
Yes, I'll do the bass line.
Oh, sweet. No, I was going to do the bass line because you said it. Turtles, turtles. I love turtles. Gold and silver. Gold and silver turtles. I love turtles in the Pascagoula River. Turtles, turtles, turtles. I love turtles. Show me more turtles. Turtles, turtles, gold and silver turtles. They are all about, what's the word? Legal tender. They really care about the National Reserve. Oh, turtles.